Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. My name is Jeanne Gallagher, and I am here with Denise Stegall, and we are cracking up over here. But um, Denise is our longevity concierge and our menopause mentor. So thank you, Denise. And let's talk a little menopause, I think. Is that right?
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about menopause, things that are happening that women don't necessarily know what it is, and when and how to connect with support, to help them, to
Hmm.
help guide them through midlife and menopause. So one of the things that most women believe, when they start to hit midlife, and midlife today is getting a little older, right? Because we're living longer. But perimenopause is still starting with, for women in, the earlier part of their 40s, earlier to mid 40s. Again, I was 37 when I started experiencing it. So um, the whole menopause, perimenopause throughout has this, kind of linear um, aspect to it. But what most of these women believe is that the weight gain, the fatigue, and the mood swings that they are experiencing, um, is actually part of aging. Why do they think that? Because they expect, they look at their mother, they look at their grandmother, the people that they, who are their, that generation ahead of them. They've looked at these women and who really had no support when it came to midlife, menopause, and supplementation. They didn't have any support. They didn't have any help from doctors. They didn't have the internet, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, right?
Right.
So we just think that all of these things that are happening, oh, it's just part of aging, and we just kind of throw up our hands like we can't do anything about it without them understanding what's actually happening inside their body that is causing these symptoms,
Hmm.
right? These are symptoms. Um, what's happening? Our What we think of as our um, sex hormones, or our reproductive hormones, estrogen and progesterone, they affect so much more than reproduction. It's like a tiny piece of what they do, but they're at their 100% when we're younger, which is why we really focus on them for reproduction, right? But get this, they both regulate fat storage.
Mm.
We know as midlife goes on that estrogen and progesterone decrease. Well, if they're decreasing and they regulate fat storage, now we don't have that. Now we have more fat storage,
Hmm.
right? They regulate sleep, especially progesterone. That's one of the first things people start to notice is in their 40s is they're not sleeping so well. And they think it's stress, it's whatever, going on in life. More often than not, yes, that those things will contribute, but it's a challenge of their progesterone.
Mm.
And then, of course, energy, mood, those things go along with both. And then, of course, there's inflammation, which is a piece that no one ever talks about.
Hmm.
So essentially, when these hormones are all out of balance and you're throwing in chronic stress,
Hmm.
we end up having um, higher estrogen than progesterone. So this is when we talk about the imbalance.
Hmm.
At one point, they were pretty equal, but now progesterone starts to decrease first. So already we have an imbalance, right? And then all of a sudden they start decreasing more and more, but there's still that imbalance. When we talk about, balanced hormones, we're trying to get the progesterone and estrogen as close to each other as possible. Um, and this is actually what drives these symptoms that we struggle with in midlife.
Mm. And the quite often, maybe you're asking a family member, and other generations really haven't delved into these symptoms. It is just what happens at this time. This is your ticket. And that's a
Very
really
true.
that's a habitual way to look at it.
It is. So women, our generation before. So my mom. So I love to pick on my mom. I really hope my mom doesn't listen to these things sometimes. She'd be proud of me, but she'd also be mortified. But I think of my mom, when she was in her 50s, and I don't quite remember if she was in her early 50s or in her mid 50s. She was actually put on Prempro, which is hormone replacement therapy, traditional hormone therapy. And she was on it for a short period of time. Short period of time could have been a couple of years. Probably that was all. And then they took her off, mostly to deal with, hot flashes, whatever. And this was a time when all of a sudden there was this study, the women's health study that was poorly run, was actually it wasn't just poorly run. The people that they had in this study were kind of inappropriate for what they were trying to prove or show. So it ends up that they said that HRT causes breast cancer and heart attacks, which it does not. Even their own data doesn't actually state that. Right. They were kind of nitpicking, in this small group of people, in that small group. But the message that went out was HRT causes breast cancer. It causes heart disease. And so when doctors were just starting to help women with HRT, they see this all over the news, and knee-jerk reaction was they just stopped. So even though there was a chance about 20 something years ago, how many years? It's 2025. Yeah, 25 years ago, right? To help like people of that generation before us. We've had 25 years of having to go back and disprove that. And doctors really are never taught about menopause. I think they have like 1 day of menopause training in all of, medical school. So that's really the biggest challenge that we have is our mothers and grandmothers, well, mothers and aunts of that generation, they don't have anything. They weren't given anything. They didn't have an opportunity. So for them, yeah, this is just kind of what it is, right? But we know in our generation that this is a biological thing, right? Yeah, it's something that happens, but it's also something that we could manage in a very natural and holistic way.
Yeah. And it's important for people to say, I don't know that this feeling that I'm having should be happening. And so now the challenge is, who do you ask that from of? Who do you reach out to find out whether this symptom is menopausal, premenopausal, or something else?
And as with anything in medicine, there is a little bit of trial and error. But the first thing that I would say, how do you know? You know your body better than anyone else. If all of a sudden there's this new weird symptom that you're experiencing, so for example, for me, I was starting to experience this like this anger, this angst that I had never in my life experienced. And where did that come from? I live with my best friends. We've been happily married. We travel. We have all the great things. What the heck is this feeling? Where is this coming from? So I knew that this was not normal for me. And so, yeah, I went to my doctor and they basically told me, oh, it's just a phase. You'll be fine. That was not the answer that I needed. And so knowing myself, I started doing research. I went to see somebody else. I went to see a holistic practitioner who I was able to have a good conversation with, right? A lot of women would go to the doctor. That doctor would say, oh, it's just a phase, you'll be fine. And then they walk away going, oh, okay, well, the doctor said it's just a phase, and continue to feel like
I'll be
crap.
angry for a little while.
Right. But the problem with that is it doesn't necessarily get better if we don't address it. Again, a lot of it, this is hormone imbalance. Hormone imbalances don't get better if we don't address them.
Yeah.
So if there's something that is completely new and out of left field, that is your first red flag. Like, right, this isn't normal. Now, yeah, you want to make sure you see your doctor. I always think that it's important to see a traditional doctor because there could be something else going on,
Right.
right? That's why we have blood tests. That's why we have thyroid tests and urine tests for, hormone panels.
Mm-hmm.
Testing is absolutely, in my opinion, my humble opinion, absolutely essential for us to know where we are and if these symptoms that we're experiencing are hormonal or if they're something completely different.
Yeah,
That
you
to
have to
me
have
is
that
where we need.
baseline. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then finding the coach or the like you as a menopause coach to somebody that is well knowledgeable about hormonal symptoms and can help run those questions of, you know, how do you feel for this situation? How does this situation, what is happening here, to be able to determine what could be, what is your diet and what is your activity level and what is your normal stress level and what could be triggering some of these symptoms to help figure that out. But like you said, it can be a little bit or a lot of bit of back and forth to figure it out because there's not one answer. It's not like, oh, you had a heart attack, this is what you need to do and check your diet. It's going to be different for everybody, and that's why it's important for you to understand that you are the best resource for your own body, but you have to find somebody
Absolutely.
else that's willing to hear what you're saying and ask the appropriate questions to really run that checklist down.
Absolutely. And part of what I do with my clients is, I can order a Dutch test, and that
Mm-hmm.
is the hormone panel. Um, and then I have a doctor actually read that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not in my wheelhouse to be able to do, right? I'm not a medical doctor, but I am connected with someone who can help me help a client.
Right.
Because a lot of times when you go to the doctor, they poo-poo them, and I've talked to so many OBGYNs that are like, oh yeah, that's not, that doesn't really work. It's just taking, a reading at one period of time. Well, the Dutch test doesn't. It takes actually samples from 24 hours, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to a blood test, which is right, you get the finger prick. That's the minute that, the test
Mm-hmm.
is done. So my job as the menopause mentor is to help guide my clients to better health, better menopause management,
Mm-hmm.
and symptom relief, but it's also working in connection with their doctor as well. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'm that not go between, that's not the right word. But I'm kind of a conduit to help people go to their doctor, ask the right questions, and really tell them exactly what they're experiencing in a way that a doctor is going to say, okay, hold on, I hear you, as opposed to, kind of going, well, I'm kind of experiencing this. And then all of a sudden the doctor's like, oh, okay, well, we'll just put you on an antidepressant and you'll be fine. You really
Yeah.
need
Right.
to go into a doctor's appointment prepared with, information and education about what's actually going on in your body, because that will open their eyes. Um, 9 times out of 10 to go, oh, she knows a little bit more about this than I do.
Yeah.
How do I help this patient?
Yeah. So whether people reach out to somebody like you or reach out to the guest that we just had, Cher at Be Balanced LA, find that resource that's going to work for you, that's listening to you and asking all of those right questions and help guiding you towards the resources and have patience with the process because it is a process.
Absolutely. And you have to remember too, life is long. People always say, oh, life is short, la la la. It's not. Life is long.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not feeling good today and you're 45, you have a long way to go between now till the time you're 85, which is at
Right.
that point your estimated lifespan, right? You want to feel good those years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's what I'm here to help you do.
Wonderful. Denise, thank you. Thanks so much,
Thank
as
you.
always.
Always fun. Thanks, Jean.
Hello, everyone. This is Jeanne Gallagher, Discover Rising Tides, and I want to just take a moment to talk about my friend, Denise Stegall. I am honored to call her as a friend, and I'm so grateful that she gives us her insight during our shows, each show, and talks about healthy living, eating real food. You hear Denise say, eat real food a lot. Well, she means it, and she knows what she's talking about. She is an amazing healthy living coach, curator at Living Healthy List. And if you ever have any questions about what is real food, why does it matter? How does that apply to me? How do I change? What do I need to do? How do I even create a healthy living shopping list? Make sure that you call her. She is your healthy living coach, and you can find her at healthylivinglist.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. I am Jeanne Gallagher, and I am here to introduce you to our guest today. And also, if you're listening to us on any of the podcast platforms and you'd like to see our shiny faces, hop on over to YouTube because we'll be there as well. And so, Cher Olivos, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm looking forward to our conversation as well. And so Cher has Be Balanced LA. And before we start, give us a little bit of an idea about your background, and then we can talk about what Be Balanced is and get into everything else.
Sure. I came from the medical field, worked backstage on the operations compliance side. And then looking at the business side of healthcare, I just found a gap after I had my son when it came to women's internal wellness. So after discovering Be Balanced, which is actually a franchise, I love that it's science-backed, proven, has a bunch of testimonials. I had to open one up because it just helps fills in the gap from a natural approach when it comes to women's wellness and weight loss.
Oh, interesting. And that that is an area that it seems to be more talked about now, but it really hasn't been in the past.
Oh, totally.
Mhm.
Even my generation of cohorts who all had kids, I asked after I had my son, like, did you guys suffer this way? And they were like, yeah, we all did, but you just don't talk about it. So even this
Mm.
generation kept their mouth shut
Mm.
about the
And
struggles.
that also speaks to, we're not going to get into this part, but I'm just going to make a statement. It also speaks to the gaps in the medical system that you've already been talking about, that you just quickly mentioned. And so unfortunately that is, but fortunately enough for people that come in contact with resources that you're offering, that there's an outlet for this.
Absolutely. And I say this again, 18 years in the medical field, I respect physicians and that industry. I just think that it helps offering other solutions, other approaches that are
Hmm.
maybe not big pharma based or
Hmm.
invasive in removing organs. Just know that there are options out there, especially when it comes to women's hormones and wellness. I have heard certain physicians say that when it comes to women's hormones, it's not emphasized enough or in the medical in medical school, unfortunately.
Mm. And being female myself, it's it's amazing how much we all don't know about our bodies.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a multi-pronged approach, right? Like we're conditioned to take care of the family, work a job, marriage, all of that. And then that's when things start hitting our bodies. So it doesn't become a priority, at least from my view, until the kids are off in college. A lot of my
Mhm.
clients have a lot of high school, college graduations, and they're coming in here, okay, it's me time because they haven't been listening to the signals of their bodies and maybe haven't received the kind of education about their bodies that
Mhm.
hopefully they would have wanted, at least post baby, you know?
Mhm. Right. And so what are some of the common questions or common situations that you're seeing as people are coming in, and what's the process like, and how do you handle those, or what is the intake process like at Be Balanced?
Yeah, so we're marketed as weight loss, but truly we're so much more than that. It really
Mhm.
is. kind of like a Chipotle. Okay, let's get a natural approach. I like it because it's affordable, it's accessible, it's efficient. You know, we want certain nutrients. We want to like just fix the issues that are popping up. So we go to the root cause, and that's explained during like a virtual or in-person free consultation. Because
Mhm.
again, I'm seeing that a lot of women are not don't know certain key information when it comes to their hormones, cortisol. I mean, we're learning about it now, but cortisol, candida yeast overgrowth, and estrogen dominance, those
Mhm.
are some of the key areas that a lot of my clients don't come in already knowing, unless they maybe
Mhm.
suffered from breast cancer or had a deep struggle in their past.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we offer the free consultation. Let's get to know your symptoms from a non-medical view, and let's just provide you certain solutions. Whether and what are your key goals? Is it weight loss, or are you just looking to balance certain hormones, get rid of the hot flashes, night sweats, the brain fog? So yeah, we customize it based on the needs and wants of our clients so that they get back to feeling like themselves again. That is the
Mhm.
true goal, really.
And how do you do that?
Ooh, well,
A simple question, a complicated answer, but I didn't want to, I figured it's easier just to ask the general question and then let's
yeah.
break it down and talk about the process of, because it has to be, there's a lot of, if you think about, I always think in a flow chart, right? So you're taking a symptom and you're thinking in a flow chart, but the possibilities of what could be causing that, causing maybe that symptom or the concern that somebody has could be the answers could be various and interconnected as well.
Interesting. Um, well, to make it really basic, I think the
Hmm.
most common issue that we see is estrogen dominance stemming from
Okay.
stress. Okay. And I think when we think of stress, we think of work, job, kids.
Hmm.
But think about the beauty products, processed foods. I mean, the
Hmm.
food quality these days is not the same. We're balancing and juggling so much. Um, and so much is coming at us. We have these phones, these computers, the toxins in the air.
Hmm.
So many more toxins are messing with our body. So that is a certain type of physiological stress. Okay.
Hmm.
Add that on to the mental, emotional. Now your body is in high stress mode, which it's not meant to be. Our cortisol is meant to kick in to protect us when there's a tiger in the room. And then we're meant to come back down to rest and
Hmm.
relaxation, right? Our parasympathetic mode. But if we're in high stress mode all the time, from perfume, like makeup, all around us, this computer, our phones, nonstop, um, then it starts to pull from our progesterone levels to keep up with that cortisol. That's kind of that chart right here that I go through with clients. As progesterone goes down because the cortisol, because it needs to keep up with the cortisol, then you're left with higher estrogen levels than progesterone.
Hmm.
Progesterone is responsible for burning fat, calming us, sleep. So much is needed with that progesterone level, right? So that common imbalance that I see with basically every client, I'm sorry, but I do, based on the
Hmm.
symptoms that they're coming in with, that gap between estrogen and progesterone, that is what causes a lot of these issues, especially as we get into menopause, weight, sleep, mood, libido, brain fog. I mean, you name it. So just by that, simply correcting that, let's boost
Hmm.
the progesterone, lower the cortisol, and we could talk about that. We talk about that with lifestyle coaching and our supplementation. But really, the easiest way is with these natural hormone balancing creams
Hmm. Hmm.
derived from
Can we,
natural ingredients. Yeah.
Uh, I want to step back for just a second too, because you mentioned something that's really, I think that's really important that maybe needs a little bit of conversation around. Um, Obviously your diet and exercise, that portion is important. But one thing that we don't talk enough about, in my opinion, is beauty products. And can we talk about that for just a second? Because I think that um, I think that we really need to have more conversations about the toxins that we are putting into our body unknowingly, whether it happens to be makeup that we use or perfumes, dryer sheets, and the caustic um, laundry detergent and things, those chemicals that we're exposing ourselves to really does affect all of these different areas that we're having problems, that we're noticing this just isn't right. But we really have to look at all of these root causes.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, the beauty industry alone has changed within the past decade alone. That's something to keep in mind, especially with social media. The standards have heightened drastically. And then you add that, couple that with the quality, right? Sure, you have these higher name brands, but there are knockoffs or cheaper versions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, even with lipstick alone, I heard the
Mm.
stat that the average woman ingests 2 pounds of
Oh,
lipstick in
good
her
Lord.
body over the course of her lifetime. That may be more now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so couple that, I mean, add that on with you're putting these chemicals onto your body. It's topical. The
Mm-hmm.
cleaning products, as you mentioned, those
Mm-hmm.
chemicals, the xenoestrogens found in there. I mean, that's just worsening that estrogen progesterone gap, not just in women, but also with men too.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing like more tissue, more fatty tissue here in men, which is definitely a sign of excess xenoestrogens in there. I had a client also mention that I didn't know I was allergic to glycerin. So maybe they're attempting to be healthier and have certain supplements, $5, $10, $20, $30, but it has glycerin, sugars, heavy metals, artificial
Mm-hmm.
ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And it took her a long time to learn that she had a sensitivity to glycerin. So even
And
those
that's
in
very difficult
disguise.
to determine because it shows up in so many different places that you wouldn't even think that glycerin would be available or applicable.
Yeah, same
Mm-hmm.
with sugars as well. I mean, sugar is hidden in so much more now. Um, Luckily, we're all increasing awareness with plastics and changing our pans, non-stick pans.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a growing awareness, which is great
Mm-hmm.
culturally.
And so those conversations, that lifestyle coaching piece that you're bringing to the table is also important. It isn't just here's a process that you need to do. I think bringing the coaching piece and helping people understand what their routine looks like and where they can improve their routine or what they're exposing themselves to also does help.
Absolutely. I think the true value in what we offer is the education piece,
Mm-hmm.
education on how to help your body as a woman to show up better, really show up better as a mom, a grandma, like at work. Your body is breaking down, and let's see the signs of that. That's been happening since maybe after you had a kid. Maybe your body didn't recover and you had a couple more kids, and then marriage
Mm-hmm.
and kids and divorce and all of that. It really is. I'm really big on giving back a sense of control to women who feel like they feel possessed.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
lot of women come in saying, like, I don't know what's wrong with me. So that not knowing, that makes them, or at least they say that they lose a sense of control and it just
Mm-hmm.
worsens. So my goal is to really change the trajectory of their health and their well-being from a natural approach. I'm really passionate about giving education in a digestible, efficient, affordable way. You're a woman, you're a powerhouse. Let's help you show up the way you want to show up now.
Mm. Can you give us an example, maybe a success story that you've seen come through and from beginning to end and the transformation that's happened for somebody?
Ooh,
I sorry I didn't prep you with that question, but
no, I
tell us.
love talking about clients. They're so fun. I have a couple. Let's see. Well, you're really big about, okay. I have one client who's a college professor in nutrition, right?
Hmm.
So she literally teaches about nutrition every day, but yet coming in here, she really opened up about how her health issues really started when she was taking care of her husband, who unfortunately passed away from diabetes
Mm.
complications. Yeah, so blood sugar balance is real. It really hit her. So being a wife and a caregiver, I mean, I think the most stressed out clients I have are caregivers.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's huge. It takes a lot of us, physical energy, heart energy. So yeah, she gained a lot of weight since then, wanted to lose weight, but this transformation, this journey has become so much more to where organically, clients start to value self-care and increase self-compassion. We get away from perfection and move towards progress. So that just evolves into a self-kindness.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes, we look at weight loss, but by them being kinder to themselves and not shaming and taking away the guilt, that just evolves like to different areas of their lives. And then I hear kids, so then she traveled a lot this summer and she grieved even more about her husband and stop feeling guilty about living her life the best way possible. So now this
Mhm.
became more about weight loss. Now it's about honoring him, taking care of myself, and knowing that like she deserved the care, and also learning about nutrition in a different way.
Mhm.
So as it relates to her hormones and her age and her body. She went to Disney World and got hot flashes. So we really learned what causes the hot flashes. Um, yeah, so she's just, oh, it's been a tremendous journey with tears, with a lot of self-love, and a whole new outlook on life.
Mm. I thank you for sharing that. And it is important to have those discussions around not just what are we how are what our activities are, but what's our mental opinion of ourselves.
Mm.
And what stress are we putting on ourselves negatively, feeling I'm not enough, or I am overweight, or I am this is the ticket that I've punched, and I'll always have hot flashes, or I'll always have I'll never be able to. I've heard this from a lot of people. I'll never be able to sleep a full night again, and it is just the way it is.
Oh no, I really want to remove that badge of honor when clients say,
Mm-hmm.
I can tolerate pain, or I have a high tolerance for
Mm-hmm.
pain, or
Mm-hmm.
I can do this and be a mom at the same time. Let's remove that badge of honor. Let's look at things in a different way because more often than not, when clients do start to care for themselves and add a little bit of like selfishness, you start to see husbands and kids improving their well-being or pushing their moms to meditate, go daily meditate, because then everyone starts to see that the more we care about them ourselves as a mom and wife, the more everyone else benefits. I love hearing moms say, I'm enjoying my time with my kids. I'm having better sex. It is such a valuable investment,
Mm-hmm.
especially during certain phases in our lives.
Mm-hmm. In how what is the process when somebody comes to see you? Walk us through that process. What happens in uh, how are you determining what might be the best course of action?
So we look at, let's say they find me or a friend told them about me. We have a
Hmm.
little discovery call, like, what's going on with you? Do you
Hmm.
want to lose weight? Do you have gut issues? Or are you just looking to balance hormones? What are your symptoms? We're very symptoms based here. When we do that, then we go dive deeper normally in a in a full consultation. Let's get inventory of all of your symptoms. That way we can identify if it's your thyroid, your insulin, cortisol, what is going on. From there, if a client is a certain BMI and is maybe holding extra weight in their midsection versus being evenly distributed over their body, around their body, and maybe if they're a certain age and if they're experiencing certain symptoms, then we can probably chalk it up to some estrogen dominance and some weight loss. We look at weight loss here to where, yes, some clients want that vanity weight loss gone. But if you're holding in extra estrogen, we want to metabolize that excess estrogen to help you improve your symptoms and get rid of that abnormal fat without messing with your structural fat. There's no injections here, by the way, no
Hmm.
exercise. Actually, I see cellulite improved, so it's great for your skin. But that abnormal fat, that's telling me that maybe you have higher cortisol, maybe you have some, again, like excess estrogen. Let's metabolize that. Let's find that inner balance. And then as I coach clients weekly, my team and I anyway, not only are
Hmm.
they losing weight, but I want to hear about your poop, your sleep, your energy, libido
Hmm.
at times, and all of those should really improve within the first month.
So you really are taking a deep dive into many different bodily functions, if you will, to determine what could be maybe a little out of whack.
Yeah, really, our one program we have, the Becoming Balanced program, it is a one-stop shop to really reset your body. It's a full
Hmm.
metabolic reset because it works for so many clients. Unless your BMI is maybe like 18, then we can customize something else for you. But with that program, men and women, we balance your blood sugar. We teach you how to eat every 3 to 4 hours and what to eat. We're balancing your estrogen, progesterone, thyroid, cortisol. So much is happening and getting rid of that candida yeast overgrowth. So when you do this all at once, it is so much better than the DIY, picking, guessing what supplements to pick from Whole
Hmm.
Foods or from YouTube. But with this approach, this is really the shock that my clients feel that really works for everyone. After that, like, then we can work in other stuff to see if you even need it. I love seeing how clients don't need certain medications anymore, or their doctors are getting them off medication, or
Hmm.
they don't need their magnesium for sleep. Like, I really don't jump to the a la carte, let's put you on all these pills. I love that program because it really is the reset that a lot of clients do need to detox and kind of start from scratch
Hmm.
and lose
And it
weight.
get and it gives a baseline too of a fresh start to rebuild on.
Yes, and that works well for the next phase. So that program has a couple phases after where we test
Hmm.
for food sensitivities. Now that you're at a baseline, now we're able to identify what you're sensitive to so that we can help you not just keep the weight off, but keep your gut happy.
Hmm. And in gut health really is the center of so many important bodily functions, brain and body functions as well. And if your gut is off, there's so many other areas that are affected from that.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes clients can chalk up their mental health or their anxiety to situational stuff.
Hmm.
But I love talking about how 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut. So if you're bloated, if you have chronic inflammation, your gut is not happy. It's not going to make
Hmm.
that serotonin that you want and need. Um, and yeah, our immune system. I love clients talking about how they do a candida cleanse and they're like, this toe fungus that's been there forever is now gone, or my allergies are gone. So much is of our immune system, our skin is tied to our gut. So
Hmm.
yeah.
You bring such an important service to people, and it sounded like if well, you're based in LA, but you also said virtual. Do you work with clients virtually as well?
Oh yeah, all over the US.
Hmm.
Clients as far as New York, Texas. So much can be done virtually because we'll have our free consultation virtually, our check-ins
Hmm.
virtually, and we'll just ship things out to you as needed.
Oh, that's fantastic. That is great because there are so many people that might be listening that might not be in the LA area and say, you know what, I really think I need these services. And now you mentioned quickly, and I want to dive into this just a little bit further. What is your ideal client?
Let's see. Maybe over 35. Maybe
Hmm.
we help men. So our men lose 20 to 30 pounds sometimes in the first month. The wives hate them. But this has been designed for women with hormonal imbalances.
Hmm.
Every time a client comes in with gut issues or weight, different issues, we really see the connection with their hormonal imbalances that kind of start after kids. So 35 to 65, before a lot of like medical issues come up and they're in that like perimenopausal phase. That is what we love to really shift for them.
Mm. And how do people get in touch with you, Cher?
Ooh, they can go to bebalancedla.com, book a free virtual or in-person consultation. I love answering questions and just
Hmm.
talking to them right off the bat. Or they can
So if
call.
they're not really sure, if they're so like, I don't know, but maybe I'd like to find out if this is, if they're, I've got something going on, that's really a great resource for them to do that. And it creates space for those kinds of conversations.
Totally. When it comes
Hmm.
to hormones and weight, I totally acknowledge and see that it's a sensitive area.
Hmm.
It's so much more than surface and like health issues. There could be identity stuff there. So I get that it's a vulnerable area. We try to create a safe space here. So they are welcome to even call our center or, yeah, just send an email
That's
full of info.
fantastic. That's fantastic. And so for you, let's talk a little bit about you. And I appreciate you sharing about Be Balanced as well. So tell us a little about you and has this business changed you at all?
So much. I feel like I'm being tested as a woman
Mm-hmm.
between having two young kids. I'm going to be 40, so I'm getting into that peri phase. It's so interesting seeing clients and their journeys and seeing like my parallels here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, constantly being tested. But before even having kids, I struggled with fertility. I wish I knew this.
Mm.
Even though certain clients in their 20s or younger, I would have loved to learn about this in my 20s and lose weight this way. Um, I may have had undiagnosed PCOS back then, which
Mm.
it's becoming more prevalent with the endometriosis, ovarian cysts, so much. And I mean,
What is PCOS for people that don't know?
oh, polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Mm.
Yeah, that's another level of hormone
Mm-hmm.
imbalances that mess with your testosterone and insulin levels. And it's so important to get a handle of that. And we're seeing more and more of that with women in their 20s with
Mm-hmm.
maybe irregular periods. It's so hard for them to lose weight, painful periods as well. Maybe some like facial hair, because it does mess with their testosterone levels, darkening of the skin in certain areas. Um, so yeah, no, this has totally changed me. And I was one of those who was diet and exercise, lose weight. Here it's the opposite. I don't want you to exercise for a certain phase because it's going to increase your cortisol.
Mm.
Let's do that later. Let's bring you back down. Let's balance you out and then go for it. Um, at this point, I do feel like exercise is more for getting fit, increasing your bone density so much, your lymphatic system, versus weight loss. I'm sorry,
Mm.
but us women are not built like men. We're
Mm-hmm.
not built at a certain age. We're not the same as we were maybe when we were 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's part of the education around here. Let's embrace a new identity. Let's learn about you here and now.
Mm. And so now you are in your professional role taking care of so many people and you're a mom and so you're taking care of your family. How do you take care of yourself?
Oof. Uh, Let's see. I actually will admit I have my own supporting team. Like I
Mm.
really believe in women and community, airing things out. Um, I do have like a therapist. I
Mhm.
have like a support system. My husband is there, but when you're leveling up or when you're changing, evolving, and as women, if you're unable to fill your cup up, like I do cash that in with like friends, other folks, coaches, spiritually. It's so important for us, me, to fill up my cup.
Mhm.
So just like I coach others, I'm giving that energy out. I am seeking like to fill up my cup as well.
So important because in order to show up well for others, you have to show up well for yourself first.
Yeah, it's that whole like airplane mask. Let's put a
Mhm.
mask on yourself first.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not going to hurt your kids. It's not going to, it might actually help you be a better mom, a better wife. Like it's that whole butterfly effect.
Mhm. It is. It is. Cher, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story and how you are so positively affecting others. And if anybody would like to get in touch with Be Balanced, it's BeBalancedLA.com. Yes, is that correct?
Yeah. Mhm.
Perfect. So thanks again. Thanks for being with us at Discover Rising Tides, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show is sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me. And if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.